Hey everyone, well, we're back yet again for another round of fun and frivolities, as we'd like to put it. All right, I do have another topic in mind here. And I kind of wanted to, in this video, make a shift. And some of you may have noticed that in the past, in a lot of the titles that I've been putting up on YouTube, I have been adding in the soul-to-soul connection in front of, whether it's twin flames or whatever it is. And the reason that I've been doing that is, and I don't want anyone to take this the wrong way, but there is so much information out now on twin flames by so many different sources from so many different levels of consciousness, and this is not a criticism, it is simply an observation. And what has happened is it's becoming a potpourri of confusion and a circus-like attitude in many directions. So for me only, I find it necessary to clear the playing field here. And what I'm going to be doing, which has been requested by quite a few people who have gotten a hold of me, is to take the stress and the pressure off of a lot of them who have been saying to me that the twin flame label, the twin flame community as a whole has created a veritable prison, for lack of a better expression, of belief systems, behavior patterns, expectations, and presupposed agendas that's supposed to happen in regards to the twin flame perspective. So I'm going to use the soul-to-soul connection because it covers everything from A to Z. It takes in twin flames to soulmates to whatever kind of connection you want to have with anybody, under any format, under any conditions. And I'm going to go with that. And the other thing that I want to mention in this video is that I think some people may have misinterpreted what I've said in the past about love and romance and all of those wonderful things, and think that I may have an objection to it, or it's just something I'm not capable of doing. In fact, I'm more than capable of experiencing all of that. But what has happened to me is, over the years, I guess I've changed, and I understand love to be something more than what a lot of you think it is based on the traditional belief systems that are here in 3D reality. That does not make me better than you, and it does not make me superior in any way to anyone else. It's just that my concept of love is very difficult to put into words, because my concept of love is not a feeling or an emotion in that sense. It is a connection that is without explanation, that only can be understood by the person who's feeling it, first of all, with self, and then perhaps connecting with another person in a different way. And this is the kind of direction that I want to go. In order to go in this direction, in a soul-to-soul connection, the mind or consciousness has to be evolving. It has to have stripped itself or eliminated from itself all or most of all of the previous belief systems that they have incorporated, either from this particular lifeline or other lifelines that are carryover, and eliminated. And we all have a concept of love, relationship, and sexuality, and I understand that. And what is happening is this process of soul-to-soul connections that we're going through is challenging all of us to move up in vibration. And the twin flame label, vibration, if you will, has served a purpose. It's been a positive purpose. It has taken us to a point. But The point now in the twin flame community, or the twin flame energy or vibration, if I can put it that way, has become like it's become like a bird, if you will, that's needs to fly and get out of the nest in the containment field that it's been in, and we need to expand upon and move to an expanded state of consciousness that's a little bit higher than what it was. And this will, in my definition, move to what's called a soul-to-soul connection, which I think is more livable and more breathable for a lot of people who have reached now a level of evolution and the awakening of their heart center, that they no longer can maintain their consciousness in the lower vibrations of the heart center chakra, which would encompass the twin flame community as a general rule or a whole for many people. That is not to say that the information that is there will not serve a purpose for a continued period of time. It will, for people who are coming on stream. So I want to go in a kind of a little bit of a different direction here in that perspective. And in order to do that, I want to take a different approach here. And it's this. When I come on a YouTube video, there are people who listen to what I say, but there are also a great many people who can feel me. And what I mean by feel me is they can tap into me intuitively, and they know beyond the words that I'm speaking that I'm sharing myself with them. And this is what we're going to have to start getting accustomed to, different ways of connecting and communicating, and letting go of the old ways of interpreting these things. So what I'm doing at the particular moment right now is, if any of you can see or feel, you will notice my heart center is getting bigger as we talk. And as it gets bigger, I move into a different state of communication or a different state of consciousness. And the person who is receiving at the other end will automatically know what I'm saying or what I'm presenting, if it's for them or if it's not. And the way that I'm presenting, and I mentioned this in another video about presentation. When I talk about presentation, I made the comment about, bells and whistles and all of that stuff, and quite a few people misinterpreted what I meant by bells and whistles. Bells and whistles and the flamboyant things that take place in physical reality in regards to giving information is the three-dimensional way of doing things. The new way of doing things in the fourth and fifth dimensional high vibrational energies doesn't require those commodities any longer. It requires only a person who can emanate or generate a templated energy field, or take a whole thought packet or a whole ball of information and transpose it and put it into an energy form through words at first, and then by expression through what they're doing, and the person will take it in. Now, to give you an example of that, I've been instructed by higher self in the dream state as to how to start to learn how to use soul-to-soul connections and understand the mechanics of it. And I'm going to be sharing that with a lot of people in the next little while. And I want to say to everyone, please bear with me that a lot of the things I'm going to be saying in the weeks and months to come is going to be very different than what you've been hearing. And it's going to be presented to you in a different way. And to start it off today, I want to do something else. You've been hearing me in the last little while. In the last little while, it's I know I'm going all over the place with this video, but I think you're going to find it enjoyable anyway. In the last little while, I've been doing some odd things. People have been telling me I've been doing odd things for years. To me, it all seems pretty normal. But periodically, and I've been doing this up on Facebook, I'll come up with these little ditties, as I like to call them, and I'll put them up on Facebook because they come to me spontaneously, and I know they're not coming from me. But I've noticed the other day that there's a keyword in when I'm getting one of these little ditties, and it's always addressed the many. Whenever I use that term keyword or the many, it seems as though I tap in to something that's nebulous, but there that I'm able to access information from. And I have a message for you. Every one of you have a keyword. You have to find out what your own sound syllable or keyword is. Some people will call that a mantra. For me, a keyword is the many. When I use that word, it puts me into an alternate state. And you'll watch, because I'm going to read you a little ditty, all right? Again, this is going to be an unusual video. I'm going to read you a little ditty that I did a while back. And for those of you who can see and those of you who can feel or intuit, watch what happens or feel what happens when I do it. And then feel your response to the little ditty after I've done it. And then we're going to go on with the video if we can. All right? Let's try that just for the hell of it. Okay, it could be fun. New way of doing things. Soul-to-soul connections. The evolution of relationships. And I'm going to read this little ditty to you if I may. The many should understand that love, experienced as a feeling, is experienced from the emotional body and requires another person to fulfill it. I'm going to repeat that part. The many should understand that love, experienced as a feeling, is experienced from the emotional body and requires another person to fulfill it. When the many manifest love from the heart, the many are then in a position to experience being one with the one that is you. The many at this point are free to choose to be just with self, or another. What can be said of the many at this point is they finally know what love is. Now I'm going to go back and I want to read it again. And this time, as I read it, I'm going to ask you to close your eyes. I told you it's going to be a different kind of video. I'm going to ask you to close your eyes, and I'm going to ask you to listen with your heart, not with your ears. I want you to focus your attention into your heart center and listen to the words in your heart this time. The many should understand that love expressed as a feeling is experienced from the emotional body and requires another person to fulfill it. When the many manifest love from the heart, the many are then in a position to experience being one with the one that is you. The many at this point are free to choose to be with just themselves or another. What can be said of the many at this point is they finally know what love is. Now, open your eyes. Think about what you're feeling, all right? There are going to be many different interpretations of what happened. Some of you who come to my videos just to find something that you can pick at will probably find something. Some of you that come to my videos just to click that you don't like it will find something to do that also. But others of you will listen to what I've said, and you will have not listened to my voice as I'm speaking it by seeing me while I'm speaking the words that I said. What you will have done when you closed your eyes is you will be listening and experiencing the words that I said in your heart. And what are you doing? What we all need to understand and start evolving to is we're moving into a higher vibration. That's what the Heart Center has gifted us with. But what we also need to learn, as we drop more of our old patterns and belief systems about love, relationship, and sexuality, we must learn by first experiencing those who can communicate in a different way. And if someone doesn't step up and start doing it, then we're all going to sit here and fumble for the next decade or so. So what I'm proposing in this particular video is now learn to do a different means of communication. What I've just demonstrated with you, you can do with another person. You can do with anyone. You can do with your children, you can do with your husband, you can do with your twin flame, your soulmate, blah, 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 etc., etc., etc. Whatever you want to do. But the thing that's most important here is in order to do this at this particular vibration, in this particular unified field that I just used, two things have to happen in you. One, you have to be conscious. Now, what I mean by conscious is you have to be conscious to the point where you have become self-aware that you as a person are evolving and growing, and that you are moving into a higher vibration that's going to allow you to receive in a different way. Many people, when they go up on YouTube and they watch or listen to a video, are accustomed to only receiving through the five senses, seeing or hearing, or in some cases feeling a little bit. What has to happen is we need to become more accustomed to listening to the information through different chakras. For example, what I've just demonstrated to you is a connection. It is a soul-to-soul connection. Believe it or not, of the hundreds or a few thousand people that will listen to this video, there will be a few hundred who will know beyond a shadow of a doubt that I've just made a soul-to-soul connection with them. And once that soul-to-soul connection has been made, we can indefinitely communicate back and forth with each other whenever we so choose. And all we need to do is to be conscious of what's taking place, accept it as a possibility that in a multidimensional state of consciousness that you can do this readily, and you can learn how to do something else. Once you're conscious, then what you need to do is to stay awake. Now, what I mean by awake, here's what's happening. In many of the spiritual communities, and there are varieties of them, each one of them has a vibration, or it has a state of consciousness. For a moment, I'll go to twin flame groups. Each twin flame group has a state of consciousness or a vibration. That state of consciousness is stabilized or maintained by the originator of the group and those of the originators who choose what are called moderators or administrators of the group. Birds of a feather flock together. They maintain and stabilize the group. In many cases, what's happened is, because there is a limitation of belief systems, they lose consciousness and they're no longer awake. They have become no more than a state of consciousness that has been created previously by the information incorporated into the consciousness of that particular group, and it continues to perpetuate and evolve. The idea of a group, any kind of group, has to change. And what is necessary is the leaders of the group, and I'm going in several different directions here, the leaders of the group have to periodically take a time out. And by taking a time out to move beyond their old projections or their old patterns, and then taking that time out, allow them to become more conscious and more awake, and by awake, the ability to be able to go back and take a look and see what they've presented in the past, and then be prepared to move to the next level or the next vibration. The problem is a great many of you don't know how to do this. You don't know how to move to the next level of vibration. You can talk about it, as many do, but you don't have the experience of being able to do it. So what has to happen is we have to have a few people who are willing to step out, do something differently, and in some cases, to many other people, look silly or stupid doing it, but be willing to take the risk. The other thing that I wanted to mention here is this, and this is going to be a video that's going to cover several topics here, and I wanted to do it, and just because it's kind of popped into my train of thought, is recently, what's been happening, I have had quite a few people who have been in what I call a solid relationship. And there are a few of those around, all right? And they're quite content with their soulmate or whomever they're with, or even a twin flame. I've even had a couple of sets of twin flames get a hold of me. And the people, hang on, little shot of tea here. And the people, either the male or the female, have mentioned to me that they've been having excursions in the dream state or their meditation or in the etheric realm or the astral planes, whatever label you want to use, where they've been having sensual, sexual, mystical encounters with other beings, entities, and or people. And they're feeling guilty about it because they're relatively happy in their particular encounter. And when it comes to this, is I'm of the opinion as of late that the definition of relationships in our reality is so limited and so contained and so riddled with ideologies, belief systems, and religious indoctrinations, there's relatively no freedom. So what has happened is this: as we learn to communicate in different ways, as we learn to connect and share information. For example, in the information that I gave in the little ditty, I became one with some of you, a few of you. We blended, we melded, and we merged together. And there was a transition took place and a change. I gave you something, you gave me something in return, because it was an exchange. That exchange may not be totally consciously in our awareness of what took place, but there was an exchange that took place. And that's the same thing as I'm demonstrating here that is now happening to other people in different realms, in other dimensions, and with other people. I've recently had a couple of sets of twin flames get a hold of me, and they're in complete dilemma because they're really happy with their twin flame and suddenly they're connecting with another person here in the physical, or they're having a connection with someone outside of their twin flame union or their twin flame relationship or their soulmate relationship with a being or entity, and they're all confused. Well, in reality, there's nothing to be confused about. You can expect more of this to happen, and on a continual basis. And people are going to have to get accustomed to it, that we are moving into a multidimensional state of consciousness where you're more awake, more aware, and the communication is different. This is what I've been previously talking about in some of my videos of the past, and some of you have listened to them. And I stated, and I stated again, our concept that we have for just about all of us at this particular point of love, relationship, and sexuality, and all of the gas and trimmings that goes with it, is going out the window. It has to change. But I have noticed we have a die-hard crew of twin flames and soulmates and others who want to hang on desperately to some vestiges of that old dynamic situation of relationships. Trust me, if you knew what was coming, it's better, so much better, to give you so much more freedom. And I'm not talking again about going wild or anything like that. But as a society, what has to happen is the relationships that we have need to be modified and changed. In order for that to happen, we need to be freer to be able to exchange information and knowledge. And yes, in some of these cases, there is a lot of sensual and sexual experiences happening. And I'll tell you why it's happening, all right? And I'm going to put it to you bluntly. Sexual energy is the creative source energy itself. And in the human species on our planet, it has been repressed, contained, submerged, battered, held onto, restricted in any way, shape, or form that is possible. So what's happening is a great many of us now are busting loose, if that's the correct word, in the dream state, in our meditations, in our imaginations, if you will. to freedom of sensuality, sexuality, and the exploration of other dimensions with other people, with other situations. And that's what's taking place. We cannot evolve, we cannot awaken, we cannot move into the higher vibrations unless our sexual energy, folks, has been liberated. And the process that's happening now to get to a new concept of love must begin with our sexuality. You cannot experience anything more than love, about love, for love, around love, unless our sexual energy is liberated and moves up in vibration. Because the love wagon, as we deem it, see it, feel it, sense it, and believe it to be in our reality, and we each have our own personal beliefs, is directly related to the expression of our sexuality and our sexual energy. Whether you like it or not, that's the truth. So therefore, if any of you are having wild experiences with other peoples outside of a relationship you're already in the dream state, in the astral planes, with other beings or entities or people, or you're having with somebody who's in 3D and you're having these etheric connections with them and you're already in a relationship, it's because it's necessary. Don't feel guilty. There's no bloody need for it. Don't feel guilty. It's because our sexuality, our sexual energy, needs to be liberated from the contained abyss of the sacral chakra, where it's been contained for I don't know how many generations in the sexual chakra, for how many generations in lifeline. It needs to be freed up. When it's freed up, then what can happen is it can move up to the higher vibrations, the higher energy. Let me put it another way. I want everybody to understand. You cannot move into higher vibrational heart center, avatar, heart center, emerald heart center, all of the different definitions of heart center that people talk about, unless the sexuality and the sexual energy has been freed up, purified, cleansed, and purged, if you want to put it in that particular situation. And it has to express, and this is what's happening in some cases, and in all cases with a lot of people. So, perfectly normal, all right? So now, before I kind of end up with this video, and I hope I haven't confused a lot of people, I hope I've actually given some information that will be of benefit here. This is the way and the content that I'm going to go with the videos, and from this point on. Some of the personal experiences that I've been having dictate to me that what has happened is, once of this freedom or the expression of our sexuality and our sexual energy has been released and can express itself into the higher realms and chakras, then we will be able to come up individually with new concepts of love, something along the line which I've mentioned, more readily. When we do that, what's happened is the bodies that we live in, the bodies that we live in are the containment field of our state of consciousness. In order for our bodies to be more fulfilled, more happy, more longevity, more everything, we have to be free. And to be free, we have to be released from all of the impediments that have been keeping us down. And we're now into what I talked about before in a twin flame video, where twin flames came to actually now move through phases of helping individuals. And I'm talking about the few actual authentic twin flames that are here on the planet, which are very small in number, contrary to twin flame relationships, which is a different topic altogether, are now in that template of releasing that energy. So now it is filtering into the general population, the general spiritual community, and this is what is happening at this particular point. So I think what I'll do is I will stop there. And just for this video, if you're looking for a group that is not really connected to any type of community, so to speak, and is more along the lines of soul-to-soul connection, the evolution of you, that's a Facebook group that we have. And you probably will fit right in there if you kind of resonate with this video as to where I'm going. And this is going to be the future of the direction I'm going to be going in. and I'm going to be giving information that I have received as to how people can do this, literally. Now, there's another thing that's important to remember, is when I'm giving information here, keep in mind, there are variations of this information that will come from others eventually, and some of it's already started. So put the pieces together. You will find the authentic ones who have integrity will always be presenting information that is pertinent to the consciousness now and the waking state now of individuals. What they will not be doing is regurgitating and repeating the same old information, just putting new spins, new titles, and repeating them, which is taking place a lot now in the spiritual community. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'm looking forward to your comments. And if you have comments, I would appreciate if you understand what I was talking about and you felt anything. If you have additions or, let's say, avenues or directions that you would like to hear more information on, please put them in the comments, all right? And I'll see what I can do to access the information that would be pertinent to assisting you more. I gave a general theme here, okay? Thank you very much, everybody. I really enjoyed doing this one. It was a different, whole different vibration. I've been wanting to go here for a while, and finally I did it, so I'm happy with it, even if you may not be. Have a great day, everybody.